Warning: the following presentation is intended for mature audiences. It includes stigma topics like sex, addictions, mental illness, adult dialogue, and strong language. Viewer discretion is advised. Welcome to the Glow Up a Women's Confidence Summit. I am so excited. I am your host, Samantha Popp. I'm a relationship and sex expert, and I am going to be getting into reclaiming your sexy here right after the welcome and the bonus announcement. But with my topic, reclaiming your sexy, I'm kind of interviewing myself. So I have all the questions down. And I'm going to go through them with you guys. So why do you believe it's important for women to build their confidence? This is a really incredible question because without confidence, you can settle for a lot of awful shit in your life. If you don't believe that you're worthy or that you love yourself enough to see the truth, then you can settle for a lot of bad things in your life, whether it's a really shitty job, an awful place to live, a relationship that's either toxic or abusive, or just that you don't feel fulfilled in, or you just feel lost and you don't know what your abilities are. And so when you have the confidence and empowerment in yourself, you can then apply for that job that you really want. Even if you don't like completely feel worthy of it, you still apply for it because you're like, you know what, I think that, I'm good enough for it maybe. And like you're at that level compared to like, oh, I could never get that. But if you have that little smidge of hope, girl, that's confidence. And then it has that empowerment inside of you to then apply for that job, because I never believed that I was worthy of having a manager job. I thought I was too young. I didn't have enough experience. I didn't have the education to become a manager. And one day I was just like, you know what, let's just do it for shits and giggles. And then went on the interview, was offered the position for managing a gym. I was a manager at a gym back in Saskatchewan. And I literally couldn't believe it. I was like, oh, what? You picked me? And I was so shocked, but they saw something in me that I didn't at that time. So, but if I didn't have that confidence to even apply for the job, I would have never gotten that and believed, hey, you know what? I'm worthy of this because someone sees that I'm worthy. But I had to believe in myself first before I could even apply in that job. Next question. What's the most confident thing you've ever done? There's a couple things on my list, but probably like the top one, Kara, of course they picked you. I love that job. That was a really great job. Recovering from my eating disorder was probably the most confident thing that I've done in my life, besides leaving my abusive relationships and learning to love my body again and reclaiming my sexuality, which is what I'm here to talk to you guys about today. Just rediscovering the confidence, because I remember being like 3 or 4 years old, wearing mismatched socks and not caring about what I looked like, but I was confident as fuck. Like, seriously, if you could take this and like magnify it 1,000 times into a 3-year-old, that's what it was. Like, my confidence was beaming. And then I lost that when I was dealing with my body dysmorphia, my disfigured like body image and my eating disorder. But then so I could finally see myself as worthy of loving myself, and then eventually coming into the feeling that, oh, I'm sexy and oh, I'm desired. And that did come later, but honestly, recovering from my eating disorder, realizing that, hey, I'm worthy of not having to track my calories every day, exhausted from trying to micromanage my diet and making sure I'm not eating certain things that will potentially make me gain 5 pounds, which never actually happened, but that's what my brain thought during my eating disorder. Did you have a plan B or just go for it? There was no other option for me. I was so exhausted from, like I said, counting my calories and over exercising and obsessing over this part of my life when I was just completely miserable. And I felt so disempowered, feeling so gross about my body. And I was just tired. I was so fucking tired. There was really no plan B. It was like either I love myself or plan B. It was like, no, I'm going to love myself. I'm going to do this. I don't know how I'm going to do it. Let's just go. And I literally was just winging it, because I'm like, I don't know what to do. Like, I don't think anyone is having this problem that I have. And I was going at it completely alone. But I just decided, I'm like, I'm worthy to love my body again. Like, I want to get back to that 3-year-old version of myself that loved her body and was confident as fuck and just just didn't give a fuck about what anyone else thought, because that was a 3-year-old version of me. And I'm like, I need to get back to her because I miss her and I love her to pieces. And so what stood in the way that I had to navigate around, there was a few things. I did relapse in my eating disorder a few times. It's really tough when you don't have any support. I have seen other people that have had amazing support, whether they've gone to therapy or they've been a part of a support group or they've hired a coach. Sometimes that can make it easier. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know there were any resources out there, even though the internet was around when I was going through this. I didn't know how to search anything. I just kind of tried different things here and there and see if they worked. It was a lot of trial and error over the years for me to get to where I am now. I mean, I could talk about hours and days about different things that you can do to overcome your eating disorder and body dysmorphia and loving your body. I did have relapses in my eating disorder during my journey, and I still dealt with that body dysmorphia and looking down and seeing these roles and being like, oh, am I actually sexy? Like I think I'm so fat still and I don't love my body. So I had to move through a lot of that, and it was a lot of challenging those limiting beliefs, the inner critic that's constantly telling me that I'm not worthy. And girl, I know that you struggle with that too, because we all have that inner critic in our head that's telling us all the awful things, that you're not worthy or you're awful or you should feel guilty for this, like all the negative things that you could probably think about yourself. That's your inner critic, and it's not actually you. It's just this negative embodiment. Learning to cancel out those negative comments and remarks is a challenge. So that's definitely a big part of something that was an obstacle in my journey. And so what kind of advice or encouragement would you give to someone bumping up against the same thing? So I know not everyone is dealing with an eating disorder, or some people have recovered, or they're still in the way of recovering, or you're just not happy with your body. And there's so many different stages, but ultimately you're just not loving on yourself the way that you deserve to. And that's ultimately the thing that all women have in common, unless you have healed from all of your like trauma or childhood issues or whatever it is that have created all these limiting beliefs and negative things that you think that are true about your body. Girl, like there's nothing wrong with asking for help. The moment that I like signed up for therapy and like hired a coach and like was working with a bunch of different people for a variety of reasons, it just made me realize that it's like I'm so much stronger with other people on my side, whether it's just friends of yours that are supporting you, or if you hire a coach or whatever it is. It's having that support that really makes a big difference, because I see it even in friends of mine and colleagues of mine that are like, oh, I'm having a tough day. And then a girlfriend comes in or I come in and like give a pep talk, and it's like, oh, okay, thanks for that reminder. And you need that support, because when you do it by yourself, it's really tough to try and get that like motivation back. If you can already find like at least one thing about yourself that you like about yourself, or that you're proud of, then you're already like a million steps ahead of where I was when I started, because I could barely even think of one thing that I liked about myself. And that was a huge struggle, because the moment that you start finding things that you like about yourself, it doesn't always have to be physical. If you really struggle with your body dysmorphia or just your body image, and you're like, I can't really find something that I like about my body right now, hey, that's okay. Like you're going to get there. But if you can't find anything physical that you like about yourself, think about something else. You know what? I'm really smart. I love how smart I am. I'm really great at my job or my career. Or you know what? Like I'm getting really good grades in university if you're in school. Or it's like, you know what? I'm really funny. I have this really crazy, weird sense of humor that a lot of people love to hear me tell jokes and stuff. And they look forward to that because I just like light up their day. Like whatever it is, it could be about your personality. And then once you find more and more things, then you're going to find these small things about your outward appearance that you do like. Because I think the first thing that I ever said to myself that I liked was my blue eyes, because I love how they change from blue to green or to gray, depending on what I'm wearing or the color or like the weather outside. And that was probably the first thing I like admitted to myself that I liked was my eyes. I didn't really have to do anything else with my body. And like, I thought my boobs were gross. I thought my ass was huge. My legs were disgusting because they were bigger. And then eventually it just grew and grew and grew on that list. Oh, you know what? I really like my hair. And you know what? Like I like my hands. They're soft and they're caring. And you know what? Eventually I got to the point where it's like, you know what? I love my stomach, even though it has rolls on it. Those rolls just mean that that's some fat to keep me warm in the winter and whatever it was. You can get there. it takes time and effort and practice to get there. It's just making sure that you're continuing that inner love and like inner self work, because you can read all the books and you can go out and do all the things, but if you're not healing on the inside, it's going to be really hard to love yourself. If you try and distract yourself from actually doing the inner work and like being by yourself and really figuring out what's going on, then like you're on the right path doing that. How can women build their confidence by reclaiming their sexy/sexuality? The biggest thing, like once you get to the point where you're more comfortable in your body, or if you're just like, hey, I'm totally willing to try anything, I just want to try anything, then this tip is going to be for you, because I do believe that you can try this at any stage of your journey, and it's having that sexy alone time. So exploring that self-pleasure, exploring your body. And there's so many ways to do this because every woman's different. Like, what was it? I remember it was at least a couple years ago when I was watching Degrassi, because watch that. There was an episode on these teenage girls and they're like, oh, well, like, how do you masturbate? And how do you masturbate? And like one of the girls tried one of her friend's techniques and she's like, oh, that didn't work for me. And it's like, yeah, because every woman is different. You're going to find that even if your best girlfriend likes to self-pleasure herself in this way, it may not work for you. And there's so many different ways, whether you take like the the detachable head in the shower and you use that on yourself. I'm not going to lie, I've done that. It's super fun, whether it's in the bathtub or the shower, depending on what you have. I actually like doing that. There's also like a variety of different toys, and it doesn't always have to be with your vagina. It can be with your anus as well. I mean, if you're into anal, there are butt plugs and other things that you can explore with. But if that's like way too kinky for you and you're like, nope, then seriously, try with your fingers. Like that is the first thing that I did. Was I was like, okay, I don't really know what I'm doing, but like explore down there and use your hands. And of course, I'm going to encourage you to use water-based lube when you're using toys on yourself. It is better for the vagina. And I mean, for sex, of course, water-based lube if you're with your partner, and if you're doing anal, silicone-based lube when you're actually doing it with your partner, no toys. I use lube every time that I self-pleasure because it makes things easier, it makes things a little bit more comfortable. And doesn't matter if you're 20 or if you're 40, I still encourage you to use lube if you're like self-pleasuring or with intercourse, because it just makes things like so much better. Kara, I believe self-pleasure is all about getting to know yourself on a much deeper energetic level. Yes, that is so on point, because seriously, I talk about this as well, that if you don't know your body, how are you supposed to have an orgasm, right? I thought the man was supposed to make me orgasm. And it's like, girl, the moment I made myself orgasm and I figured everything out, I got to know my body on, like Kara said, that deeper energetic level, I'm able to orgasm in sex like way more often. I mean, of course, there's different factors that play in with it. More times than not, when I try to, it happens because I know my body. If you guys want an extra tip, if you're just like not quite ready to touch yourself yet, hey, it's okay. Like everyone's at their own stage in their journey. I do encourage you to at least try self-pleasure because it is an amazing thing to do. And girl, you deserve to give yourself orgasms and to have that big O. So give yourself that. Monique, pleasure is necessary. Yes, it is. Kara, I also found the more I knew myself, the more comfortable I was to communicate my sexual wants and needs to my husband. Yes, exactly. Like the more you know yourself, then you're like, oh, I like this, or oh, I don't like that. Because seriously, like explore all over your body. You're going to find that even if you don't really explore your body, but you find yourself more comfortable with like your self-pleasure. And then once you have intercourse with your partner or casual partner, whatever your situation is, then if they do something, you're going to be more empowered to say, hey, I don't like that. Please don't do that again. Or, hey, I like this. Can we do more of this? Because I don't know about you girls, but some men I've been with, I don't know what it is about them chewing on your earlobes. It doesn't. I don't like that. And I'm like, stop. I don't, seriously, like every time that happens, I'm like, yeah, please don't. please don't do that. And Kara's right, because like when I was self-pleasuring more and I was like, okay, like I know what I like, or I was just more empowered to say like, hey, I don't like that. Let's not do that, or don't do that to me. At least if you want to do that to your next girlfriend or the next person you sleep with, go right ahead. But to me, please don't. For a bonus tip, if you aren't really ready to explore self-pleasure yet, then oh, quickly, Vanessa said, I'm still shy to share different things with my husband. That's okay, Vanessa. It takes time, and I encourage you to try this self-pleasure technique because this can help. Obviously, the more that you do it, the more results you're going to have faster, because seriously, if you only do it like once a week, like once a month, yeah, you're seriously not really going to see any results. But if you're doing it at least like twice a week and really getting into that feminine energy, that sexual energy, then you're going to empower yourself to be able to talk about those things. Okay, so my second tip, if you're quite not ready to do the self-pleasure, then seriously, grab a mirror, grab your phone. Oh, you can't see it. Grab your phone. And seriously, stick it down there. And okay, not stick it in there, stick it down there. And have a look at her. Honestly, majority of us in this group, in this summit, have probably watched porn at some point in our life, or you've probably seen a clip or anything like that. And if you've ever compared what your vagina looks like to theirs, that is completely unfair. Professionals, I'm going to call them, they do get surgery. I think it's called labiaplasty, where they like trim their lips down, and that's not what their original vagina looked like. So it can be a really poor example to compare yourself to. And seriously, there are 7 billion people. Probably about half of those are women, about 3.5 billion women, give or take, in the world. There are 3.5 billion different vaginas. There's not going to be one that's exactly like the other. And seriously, like your vagina was made the way it was for you. And it's beautiful just the way that it is. So get comfortable with the way that she looks and potentially touching her, that self-pleasure. It's really going to have a huge impact on reclaiming your sexuality, and all the things. Even if you're at the stage where you're like, I don't know if I'm bi or if I'm gay or whatever it is, there's nothing wrong with experimenting. There is nothing wrong with that. I have, slept with other women in my life. I am bisexual and there's nothing wrong with that. If I never found that out, I wouldn't be able to find different parts of myself. And if you're like, nope, like that's not for me, I don't think I'm attracted to women, I don't want to try that, that's okay. But if you have something that's coming up for you and it's like, oh, like I kind of want to try being with a woman, honestly, go for it. Because I was thinking that for probably half of my life, since I was about 12 or 13 years old, I was thinking that I was attracted to women, but I wasn't sure. And going to Christian school, not fun. Not fun. But the moment that I actually found someone to experiment with and explore that side of my sexuality, like it opened up so many other doors in all areas of my life, not just sex, but it was like, oh my gosh, so now I know myself better. And then it honestly increased my confidence, because like, oh my God, like now that I've done this, whether I liked it or not, it's actually increased my confidence to try different things out in my life, not even just sexually. So it opens so many doors. If you are like, hey, like I really want to try this or anything, I encourage you to really jump on that and to take advantage of that thing that's coming up for you to try and do it. Kara, your sexuality is your own and deserves to be expressed. No one should feel ashamed or feel as though they have to hide a piece of themselves. Yeah, exactly. And I don't exactly go out on the internet and I'm like, hey, I'm bisexual and I have sex with women, but I definitely live authentically to myself. And there's nothing wrong if you don't want to go out and tell the entire world. There's like certain people that are really close to you that you want them to know, then tell them. If it's important for you and you want them to know, there's nothing that you need to be ashamed about. And this was something that I honestly thought I should have been ashamed about for half my life. And I was like, oh, like I should be ashamed for thinking that I like women. Be you. Every moment that I would hide a piece of myself or stay quiet because it made someone comfortable for me to not speak my voice, I was crying inside, and a part of me was actually like dying, and I just felt miserable because I couldn't actually be myself out in the world. So I want you to be you because you have all this magic inside you, and I don't want you to hide it from the world. It's a huge disservice to yourself, to the planet, to the universe, and you deserve to share it with everyone. If someone doesn't like that part of you, then that's okay, because they're just not meant to be in your circle, and you're not going to be for everyone. Hence why I'm a little too much for some people and that's okay, but I'm not going to be for everyone. So don't let that stop you in sharing your magic with the world, because every part of you is amazing and you deserve to live as your true self all the time.